Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and if I were to delete every other character on my account 5 stars and only keep these 8 5 stars, these are going to be my top picks. And in light of course, Euros coming up, you guys know it's coming up for the soccer, football, whichever part of the world that you come from. I want to give a dream team kind of format, spice things up a little bit. So we have the defenders. If any of you don't watch football or soccer, don't worry, it's very easy to follow. Your defenders are basically your defensive units in the game. We have currently 4. I'm only going to be choosing 2 from each category. So 2 defenders that I'm going to be choosing as my top picks. I'll give every single thought process why I think they're the best. They are going to be my top picks, and I honestly believe so. Playmakers, 2 of them. These are the characters that help your team shine or push them to victory. You have your flexible forwards, which are offensive characters, your sub DPSs in general. I'll explain more as we go. And of course, you have your goal scorers. These are your carries of your account, the one doing a bulk of your damage as well. So okay, stay tuned. Let's start off first with, of course, from the back, and then we will go towards the front, more offensive as we go. Defenders, we generally have 4 characters, and I want to limit this directly to the 5-star characters in general. I don't want to talk about other 4 stars to muddy it up. So we have 4, we have Huo, we have Aventurine, we have Fucc, and we have Luota. These 4 characters, I'm going to pick 2, and I'm going to give you the reason why. The first character that I want to choose is Fucc. I really like Fucc a lot. She has damage reduction, she shares damage, very different from any other character in many games that I've seen, and her kit is one of the most stacked that I've ever seen in my 20-30 years or going 30 years of playing these kind of turn-based games. Very, very strong unit. Why do I say not Aventurine? I'll explain why in a little bit, but in my opinion, at the pinnacle, Fucc is probably at the top in terms of flexibility, scalability, difficulty to power creep. The only way you actually power creep this character is you one-shot your entire team. But if you can one-shot characters, then you have bigger problems than the character itself already. That's my honest belief. She gives crit rate with Eidolons. If you get Eidolons of her eventually, she scales well. I personally don't have it. To put my money where my mouth is, she's the only limited character that I actually invested in the signature light cone. I got it this time around with my own wallet. I'll explain why in a bit, but you can see my Huo doesn't have it. I don't have the signature light cone. Even my Aventurine doesn't have it, and my Luota doesn't have it. So I actually went to pick up the light cone for Fucc, which I think is really strong. It took my HP to about 10k, which means the risk of getting one-shotted is very low, and this ability to just heal your units is just incredible. Not only does she buff the entire team, she has more HP, and she buffs the team even more. Very, very ridiculous in terms of sustain. This unit has it all at E0 S1. I think it's one of the most well-rounded characters in the game. My top pick for defensive units is scaling well in the future. If I don't know what team I want, plug and play Fucc. The second character, in my opinion, it needs to be a character that complements Fucc very well. In a sense where the teams that Fucc doesn't excel totally in, this character must fulfill somewhat. And my pick is going to be Huo. Because I do like playing TOT. Huo buffs energy, anything that needs energy funneling, any team that needs attack percentage buffing, healing, cleansing, tons of it. Huo is very good over there. I think she's a very solid opinion. My bias, and this is where I stand, why I don't select Aventurine or Aventurine for that matter, because I think he's an excellent unit. Not going to be my top 2 because I do want my sustain to be able to have a guaranteed cleanse, whether it's putting up that fail to block one instance of CC, or whether it's outright cleansing your units with Huo's cleanse. Aventurine increases effect rest, which is not a guarantee, and shit happens in RNG. I never like RNG in my stuff, so unfortunately I don't think that Aventurine likely will scale time. He does a lot of damage, notably he's very, very strong in the offense as well, but I want my defenders to be a little bit more anchored in their position to help the rest of my team do even better, and I think that Huo and Fucc are probably the top picks right now. Luota, granted, is very strong, one of the best skill point positive healers in the game. Doesn't even need to heal or use skill points to heal your teammates. That's something that is very, very important to know. But right now he's a little bit out of meta. We don't really need to debuff enemy in an AoE fashion. With, for example, like Luota, who cleansing, removing one buff from the enemy in an AoE fashion. For now, he is not shining too much of the late. Right now, it's really Fucc and Huo, which I think will take me in my top 2 place. But now let's talk about the one that is super crowded. Playmaker category is super crowded because any character that buffing your teammates. Think the likes of Robin, think the likes of Ranmei, think the likes of Bronya, Sparkle. All these characters will fit into these kind of categories, but I will choose none of them with my first pick. The first pick that I will choose right up front is a character like Silverwolf. This character is really a playmaker at her heart. She enables the entire team to do better, and dropping weaknesses. If you don't have too much resources to build the most stacked team in the world, Silverwolf is an anchor in that team. Really like early days of Cristiano Ronaldo, where he's really solid regardless of what team that he's in. Very, very solid character. I really like Silverwolf. Super good character that can help you broaden your team composition much better. I really like her a lot, especially if you don't have every single character in the game. My only gripe with this character is if you have every single character in the game, her utility actually drops significantly, because that weakness dropping is not as great as it was if you only have a couple of units. But given that this game I'm playing here, I'm only choosing 8, I'm restricting myself to 8 and deleting the rest of my account. If I could, Silverwolf is going to be my top pick without a doubt. I think she fails, which leaves the very crowded last slot for the Harmony characters all to fight in. This is of course really dependent on your taste or whatever characters that you like. Maybe you put in all together, but my personal belief, I want a character that scales very well with time, is able to play into as many team composition, and is complementary to a character like Silverwolf, who is focusing on debuffing enemies, playing the Nihility teams with Akirion for example, and etc, etc. The character that I'll choose is a character like Ranmei. For whatever value that a lot of the other characters have already, Ranmei is super flexible, can fit into basically any team composition. She's best in slot in like some of them. She doesn't even buff like attack percentage, defense percentage, HP percentage. She buffs a myriad of things, so that makes her super versatile regardless of what your DPS scales off with. Whether it's Blade, whether it's defense scaling unit like Aventrine, she basically buffs them all, which I think is very, very amazing. Very strong character, very versatile, can be played into most teams. I think that is something that needs to be said about a playmaker. You want a playmaker that's super versatile because you get more play time out of that character than to go on that. Why not Robin? A lot of you might be wondering, and why not Sparkle? Let me explain. Robin is more of like a offensive playmaker, where she deals a lot of damage on her own, contributes a lot to the team. For example, in the likes of Aventrine, she is best in slot in some teams, but those that she's not best in slot in, the gap between like her and Ranmei, it becomes even wider. Ranmei is like a generalist. You can fit her into most teams. If you want to play break, I don't think Robin will excel that much in break compared to if you're playing follow-up team compositions. Ranmei might not fall as far behind, and that is something that I feel is very important to me. I personally have a bit of a, what do you call that, a grudge, a bias against turn order that cannot be manipulated, like the Concerto state, like Jingyuan's Lightning Lord. I don't like all these kind of things where you summon and you can't control it and you are just based on number of turns, because it's very restrictive. You can't alter it based on your game sense, new relics that come into the game and whatever not. Whereas you can modify speed and stuff like that and control how fast or slow your characters move. That's a bit of an icky part to me. That's why I don't really put Robin as the top pick. Ranmei is more of like a clean character that doesn't have too much downsides for the amount of benefits she brings. I really like Ranmei a lot. These two are my top picks, in my opinion. This is my account, of course. If you guys have any dream team that you want to plot, maybe you are differing opinions already, feel free to leave in the comments below and share like what are your thought process, why is it that way. I'm sure all of us will be happy to know. So, in the flexible forwards category, the key word here is flexible forwards. This is another term for sub DPS in this fashion. What am I looking for is characters that would fit with many DPSs. They fill the role very well, and they are very, very flexible at this point of time. They are not the main contributors of damage. They are not the one that are like hyper carry or count Zila, Jingyuan kind of style, but they are of course still pretty strong on their own. They will add a bit of damage and super flexible. The first character that I will pick is a character like Blade. Even though he has been out for a while now, Blade offers a lot of versatility, doesn't consume too much skill points. He has self-sustained mechanics. He's very, very tanky with a lot of HP stats that he has. And he basically helps you increase your account-wide efficiency because you have different characters scaling with different stuff as well. Other than that, of course, doesn't use too many skill points, which means you can fit in a super hungry, hyper carry kind of style. All he needs really is just a little bit of sustain, and contributes currently win, which you can't really find good win DPSs outside of Blade. Even Black Swan, I'll argue, doesn't have too fantastic win breaking. Hers is okay, but not like the best. And your other options for win right now is like Dan Heng. Probably second best windbreaker is like a sample in my opinion of like how fast you can remove the wind, but I do like Blade for the amount of versatility he controls. And if you've seen our video on like the 8 different teams which is on our channel, Blade fulfills one slot, which is the HP sapping slot, and I want to like fulfill as many slots as I can with these 8 characters. Blade, probably my top pick here in this flexible forward position. And the next one, of course, there's a lot of characters that fill this role. You can have sub DPSs. You could argue Welt is like in between a playmaker and a sub DPS. You could argue if you build like a DPS Silverwolf, she could fit here as well. You could argue Topaz and Nambi, Boot Heal. All these characters might fill in this slot of flexible forward. But with the character that I really want to choose, probably is going to be Kafka, and this is a bit of a personal bias to me. She's a character that can play into many teams, fast, slow. You can build her DOT. I personally build her a little bit faster than focusing on attack percentage. I want her to move very often, proc a lot of attacks. In that sense, she's able to debuff enemies with her signature light cone as well a bit more, which helps characters like Akirion if I were to play in that. She can be played into DOT specific teams with Black Swan. Where's my Black Swan here? With your Black Swan, you can play her into lightning teams where you are specifically focused on wanting to break lightning weaknesses, maybe against the enemy Yanqing swords and stuff like that. A very good proxy for a character like Serva if you're just looking for an AoE lightning break. I really like her, super flexible. I run her for speed. You could try even like crit on her. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. And a character that can play into so many different teams is definitely worthy of a flexible forward situation. I think these two fill in these slots. And funny how they have been around for a really long time, yet I still choose them. So now the fun part, the goal scorers. These are the ones that are the flashiest. These are ones that are the tendency to get power crept the most, and it's also one of the most competitive out of all of them. You have the likes of Jing Liu, you have the likes of Jing Yuan, Zila, you have Imbibitor Lune, you have... who else am I missing? I'll argue Boot Hill, Aventurine. You could say Himiko could some extent be like that. You could argue that Akirion is also a main DPS, and so many different options that you can have. The one that, of course, the simplest that I'm going to pick is Akirion, especially with E2, and I think her gap starts to shift up significantly with E2. Makes her flexible, scales very well with time, does insane amount of damage, so many team compositions that she has, doesn't need energy at all, which means you don't require a specific energy buffer, you don't need energy restoration at all, just need the speed, damage, pretty much good to go as well. Very solid character overall. If any of the enemies have like restricts you from energy, saps your energy, Akirion doesn't give a shit about all of those. So very strong character. One caveat though, I think that she feels a lot better with E2. I have 3 accounts, one of E0, E2 and E6. I do think E2 is my ideal stopping point. This is my main, of course. I have an E2. But you do want to have her at E2 S1 at least. That's when I think the value of her really tops off. The rest is just too whaley. E0 just feel a little bit lackluster. If I could have a free-to-play account and run the game, I'll play a E2 Akirion and save my pools and skip some of the other characters. Once you have her at E2 S1, I think she's a pretty good character for at least the next 6 months until they start power creeping massively again, introducing a new, even busted character. But I really like it. Very strong character. Gonna be my top pick for the DPS goal scorer categories. Now the second one, this one is a bit difficult to explain. I think I haven't been explaining too much on this video. I haven't talked about this character too much because I was very busy with Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero content on our 2 other channels, creating a ton of content as well. But Boot Hill is probably going to be my top pick for goal scorers DPSs category. Why do I say that? He's a very flexible character. He's able to drop in weakness breaking on the enemy. This is of course a standby. This is like a freaking level 1, so don't think too much about this. I just put it here just because I love Yanqing's face. His out drops in physical weakness on the enemy, super good, super strong, which makes him very versatile. He can eventually be played as a sub DPS, very independent, dropping physical weakness into whatever. I have him at E0 with a decent amount of, not really that fantastic relics yet, but I see the value in this character already, well invested so far. But it's probably going to be my top pick for DPSs for at least the next couple of months, because you can always switch Boot Hill down a little bit into the sub DPS category, maybe competing with characters like Blade. He's also single target, which I think is very important given that upcoming 2.3, 2.4 we're going to have a single target game mode, and if you just focus on the AoE characters and forget about single target, you're going to suffer a lot in single target content, which we haven't had in a very long time, almost 1 year now. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, you might like our other Honkai Star Rail content, and let me know in the comments below who is your dream team, who is the 8 characters that you will stick by, any difference from mine, and like and comment. See you in the next video.